Good evening. We are Group 1 and we are gonna talk about the analysis of traffic incidents, injuries, and key factors in Chicago downtown and determine the VZI effectiveness.
And for the business overview, while our chosen published Vision Zero initiative or the VZI program document lacks visualizations on analyzing several aspects of traffic safety, incident factors, and urban mobility in downtown Chicago, this analysis looks at traffic incidents, injuries, and other key factors in Chicago downtown. Understanding these key factors gives an idea of the main cause of the incident and can also provide information. By using historical data, the analysis also provides information on the effectiveness of the VZI program that was implemented at 2019 to 2022 that was documented. And for the goal of the analysis, it is to provide a comprehensive visualization and insights to enhance the understanding of the Vision Zero initiative or the VZI program, documentation, and also the effectiveness of the implemented measures in the documentation. The analysis provides the frequency and injury involvements of traffic incidents across various quarters and years, the relationship between hit and run incidents, injuries, and involved units, the primary and secondary crash factors, and their major crash type contributing to incidents, street specific accident data and their intersection involvement and number of injuries, and lastly, the evaluation of the VZI plan's impact on intersection implementation.
So for the data sources, we got it from the Chicago Data Portal, and for the VZI reference, we got it from the Chicago website as well. So for the business question, what is the total number of crashes, injuries, and no injuries by year and quarter? Number 2, what is the total number of crashes, injuries, and no injuries by report type based on year? For number 3, what is the total number of hit and run incidents and how do they correlate with the amount of injuries and units involved that occur in such crashes? For number 4, what are the top 5 primary and secondary contributors crashes and their top first crash types? And for number 5, which top 20 streets has the most accidents and their total sum of injuries and total intersection involved in accidents? So, for the additional business questions, which locations are prone to incidents and what's the comparison between 2015 and 2020 to 2024? And lastly, how did the priority intersection implementation in the VZI plan last 2019 to 2020 in the Chicago downtown decrease incidents that are intersection related, number of units, and injuries? So based from this graph, from what I have seen, is that every quarter one has the lowest incidents per year, and it's maybe because it's after New Year, holiday pa na sila, or and from 2020 the incidents went lower because basically it's COVID, and from quarter three it went drastically up. It's because from what I have researched is that the lockdown was over in this period of time, and it went drastically down because they made restrictions, lockdowns again from quarter four to quarter one, and went drastically up again because the lockdown was over. Yeah, and so comparing 2021 to 2024, around 2019 to 2017, the incidents went lower. It's maybe because they implemented safety measures around Chicago downtown, which is the VZI plan. So, so for the answer of business question 2, uh, every multiple represents a report type of the incident, and based from my assumption is that the on-scene report type always happens when the incident was major and when there's injury that was involved in that accident, and the not on-scene one has lower injuries than the on-scene one, which represents that the incident maybe like wala ra or just minor. And yes, and as you can see, the trends also went lower in 2020 because of COVID. So for the answer of business question 3, what is the total number of hit and run incidents and how do they correlate with the amount of injuries and units involved? So this graph represents the number of hit and runs and their correlation between the number of units and the injuries that was involved. And every colored line represents the number of units and the x-axis represents the number of injuries. So the common one basically is just 2 units and 1 injury, which is common in reality. Yeah. From our outliers, there's 8 injuries and 5 number of units that was involved. Maybe grabe kay ang pag-hit and run niya kanisang duha. Yeah, here kay murag extreme kayo ang hit and run. Yeah, duha ra pagyud ang kuan number of units na involved. So maybe pataka lang naigdagan. Yan. So next.
For the next business questions, based on our research, we found that among all 10 primary contributors, we found that the top three, that being failing to yield to right of way, following too closely, and improper overtaking, all share a common crash type, ignoring for rear end crashes due to its relation with following too closely, being sideswipe same direction crashes and turning.
And I would also like to add on that every based from what I have seen is every primary contributory cause has their own common first crash type. Yeah, only failing to yield right of way o driving skills and operating vehicle kay wala kay ingon nga common nga first crash type kay bisag unsa man jud mahitabo ana nilang primary cause. So next na lang.
Next slide, please. These two crash types also appear within the top three secondary contributors, which are failing to reduce speed, failing to yield, and turning. The reason for such crashes are even more evident if we take a look at the top 20 streets. Next, please.
And I would like also to add on that, based from what I have seen, ang failing to reduce speed to avoid crash o driving skills knowledge kay ni increase yang ranking which says nga maipirmi secondary contributory cause sa incidents dito sa Chicago downtown nya ang kaning failing to yield right of way, following too closely o kaning to look improper kay more same gyapon yang relation sa primary.
If we take a look at the top 20 streets that have the most accidents and how many of these accidents are intersection related, we can see that Halsted Street, Michigan Avenue, and State Street are the top three streets that share the highest values for intersection related crashes, with Halsted having the most number of crashes occurring. While Halsted is part of the VZA implementation zone, its implementation of the VZA plant is currently ongoing. But despite that, we cannot simply ignore it due to the number of crashes that happen in that street. So from this point on, it's just going to be assumptions. Just this point regarding these top five questions, as I'm going to be discussing as to the reason why Halsted Street has the most number of crashes. So our assumption is that this is due to the historical significance of the street, which brought on its popularity, which also led to more people driving to that particular street. This is also because that particular street is a major thoroughfare that spans through several neighborhoods of Chicago, making it a key connector between different types of neighborhoods, which is why there are a lot of people going through that street, which contributes to more crashes. So that's my end of the part. Next slide.
So for additional business question number one, which location are prone to incidents and what's the comparison between 2015 to 2019 and 2024? So we answered this question via generating a heat map. So you can notice in the heat map that there is no there's only slight changes of hit points, and the heat eh, the occurrence of traffic collision are usually in the Streeterville, River North, and the downtown side of Chicago. Next slide. So for second additional business question, how did the priority intersection implementation last 2019 to 2020 in the Chicago downtown decreased incidents on a specific location and that are intersection related in injuries? So this is the reference location. So in the heat map, we can see that around Adam Street, there's only slight cooling down of traffic and incidents. Meanwhile, in the other implemented roads such as Randolph, Washington, and State Streets remain unchanged. So if we make it into the graph, we can see the specific streets that have the total incidents, total injuries, and total intersection involved. So for the so we can see that Michigan Avenue and State Street has the highest number of incidents. And Michigan Avenue in 2019 they have lesser injuries, incidents, and intersection involved. Meanwhile, in 2024 they have higher incidents, injuries, and intersection. Maybe because of the growing population of the pedestrians in the area, same as uh, same as in State Street.
And I would also like to add on that even though there's no decrease sa incidents and intersection involvement, nagipod say like tabang kay what if the even though nga 400 rin na increase, what if wala to implementation maabot nig 3,000 or 2.5k, especially nga population is growing and number of people kay nagpuyo na dira or nagtrabaho dira nya. Only Washington has decrease pero murag tirgaro importante pero nasa la implementation gyapon dira. So next. So for the four design questions, the business process, the declare the grain, incidence fact table, yeah, the dimension which is crush type dimension, location dimension, crush date dimension, and incident dimension. For the facts and measures which is injuries total, no indicate injuries no indication, and number of units. So for the data model overview, here is our schema which has four dimensions and one fact table. For our conclusion and recommendation, we came into the conclusion that the VZI implementation of our chosen published VZI plan only has a slight improvements, knowing that population increase is also a factor, especially that it's in the main city. And for recommendation, based on our chosen published VZI plan, they should also implement traffic control on every street and educate drivers to prevent common crash types. And that is all. Thank you.